One of the things that makes us interesting human beings is the stories that we tell. We tell stories of the places that we visited and the interesting things that we've seen and done. And there are stories that are so interesting that we pass them on from generation to generation. These stories become classical and timeless. Hello, and welcome to Esoteric Nation. In this episode, we're going to be covering the story of Jacob's Ladder. Stories connect us to one another, and to generations who came before us, and to the communities that have come before us. When we read stories of ancient civilizations, we feel connected to them. When we read modern stories of individuals or communities from across the world who we've never met, we also feel connected to them. There are stories of overcoming challenges and limitations, stories of triumph and defeat, and the quest to regain a long-lost treasure. We especially feel connected to heroic stories, for they inspire us and guide us so that we too can one day overcome our own personal battles, our own personal limitations, and advance our own personal quest to regain our long-lost treasure. So today we're going to look at the story of Jacob's Ladder. A man by the name of Jacob travels across a land and one night decides to rest upon a certain place. On this night, he has a very peculiar dream. He dreamed that a stairway appeared, beginning on earth, leading all the way up to the heavens. And upon this stairway, angels were ascending and descending. And on top of the stairs was the Lord. In this dream, God speaks to Jacob. It is interesting to know that every time a divine figure appears to a human being, it's not just simply to say hello. It always delivers an important message, a purpose to be fulfilled, a divine mission to be accomplished. And this is precisely the case in Jacob's dream. Often illustrations help get across esoteric ideas. And in this case, we're looking at the concept of ascension. Therefore, we're going to look at Robert Flood's illustration of a ladder leading to the heavens. So in this illustration, we can see that there is a ladder with 6 steps. Now this is actually a 7-step process, for the final step is when you actually enter the heavens, the 7th step. Now the way that I like to simplify this esoteric concept of ascension is by dividing the previous 6 steps into 2 sets of 3. The lower 3 steps and the upper 3 steps. I prefer to interpret the lower 3 steps as representing our conceptual and rational manner of understanding the world around us. We as human beings think very concretely and only acknowledge the things that make rational sense to us. But if our object of observation is not properly tuned, we then might get a distorted image of the world, which we accept as reality, because it's the only perspective that we see at that moment. Therefore, this manner of thinking can only get us so far. Since rational, conceptual, and logical forms of thinking is the standard manner of thinking for most of the world, it is the initial stage in which esoteric study is presented, in a logical, sequential, rational manner, or at least what makes logical sense to the average person. Step 3 is the limits of our rational thinking, and where we begin to see the next steps, which go beyond logic and reason. This is when a leap of faith is taken onto the next steps, which are not clearly defined by logic or reason, but by intuition. The upper 3 steps is the world of the creative types, the poets, musicians, fiction writers. These are the domains of the upper half of the ladder, steps 4, 5, and 6. So the main idea that I want to get across in this presentation is that there is a path towards higher states of awareness. And this path, or any other path, can be broken down into multiple smaller sections, steps, or stages. It is only on the basis of a general introduction that we can then move on to more intermediate levels of study, where one can focus on each individual step in more detail. I would say that under the proper mentorship and guidance of an authentic esoteric teacher, anyone can rise up to at least the upper parts of the ladder within 3 to 7 years. But the most important step is the first step. So this story of Jacob's ladder, which is very brief, very short, contains a lot of deep meaning. And this is the magic behind spiritual writings, which at first glance read like simple stories or poetry. But upon further investigation, one then realizes the hidden meaning. So in conclusion, we can see that whenever the divine world appears, it doesn't just simply show up to say hello. It always offers a purpose, a mission, a quest. And in this episode, we've illustrated the process of this journey through the concept of a ladder leading to the heavens. And once we understand the general overview, the general roadmap, we can then see the journey more clearly from beginning to end and grasp the essence of this spiritual quest. And on the basis of this initial introduction, we can then move on to more intermediate levels of esoteric knowledge and training, which focuses on each individual element, each individual step in more detail. There are various options in the esoteric market which help advance this quest forward. And all we need to do is seek, and we shall find. Ask, and it shall be given to us. Knock, and the door shall open.